You're listening to Geeks Unleashed,
a podcast that covers what's current in the world of pop culture.
I'm Mark Brassington, and I'm in London.
And I'm Jasmine in Texas.
Hello, welcome to Geeks Unleashed. This is episode 63.
If you are not already subscribed, you can find us at Geeks Unleashed everywhere, including your favorite podcast platform. Remember, 5-star reviews help us get found by more listeners, so please rate and review Geeks Unleashed on Apple or Podchaser.
I'm Mark, and of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Jasmine.
Hello!
I kind of was a bit like, what the fuck do I say? It's like, I run out of texting jokes.
Very simple. It's all good.
I run out of texting jokes. I'll have to Google them, see if there are any more.
Oh, no, please don't.
For this week's review, we are reviewing James Gunn's The Suicide Squad.
And spoiler warning, this is a review show. So if you have not had a chance to watch Suicide Squad, we suggest you pause this and come back later because we are spoiling everything. And
before we jump into anything, I would like to thank everybody that left a message, left a comment, left a voice memo, listened to last week's episode. It was obviously just a standard episode 62, but it was also the episode for my 40th, and it was just nice that sort of nice people to be interactive and jumping in and stuff like that. So just thanks everybody. I did do a bit of a shout out on the social medias, but it's just want to say a personal thank you. And then after that episode, I woke up in the morning and I had a week away by the beach, and that's not as glamorous as it sounds. It's not California. It's just a little village near a little town called Bognor Regis, which, if anybody in England will know, is not the most glamorous place in the world, but actually it was really nice. Had a nice week away, saw some friends, had some drinks, popped into a comic shop,
nice.
Bought a couple of comics.
Got to get your nerd on.
Indeed, yeah. I haven't got all of the gifts actually that what's quite funny is my dad bought my present about 3 months ago and then forgot to give it to me. When we had a meal as well down the coast on Sunday on my actual birthday, and everyone, like my brothers and my sister and everyone, my wife, everyone gave me presents. My dad said, yeah, I actually forgot to bring yours down. I was like, but Dad, you literally bought it 3 months ago.
Yeah, you've been talking about your dad's gift for a while.
No,
because you already knew what it was.
I knew what it was.
Yeah.
And
he forgot it. That's hilarious.
And he forgot it. Yeah, my mum said, oh, you did remember to bring it. And he's like, no, I didn't. No.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, but Dad, out of everyone, you bought it before everyone, even before my wife's present, even before my wife bloody went shopping. So, but yeah, so I will see him at some point next week, and I won't ruin it now. I will share on Instagram probably the thing. It is a run of comics that I used to own a long time ago, and you may have heard me talk about it occasionally, that I sold a lot of comics off when I first got married and bought a house, because that was an expensive year. So, got married, bought a house,
had kids,
a baby,
yeah,
all in the same year, and it was an expensive year. So unfortunately, my comic collection took a massive hit that year. So pretty much wiped it out. And over the last 10 years, I've just been buying mainly new stuff, but lately I've started to go back and get older stuff. So
yeah, feeling a little nostalgic. Want to start putting that collection back together again.
Yeah, it's true. I'm sort of, although I do love new comics, I want to go back and put together the stuff that I actually got me into comics in the first place.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of the time I regret. Well, pretty much all the time I regret. And some of those things, when I see the prices of them now, I had the original Young Avengers run, and I see what that goes for now, and I'm like, oh, flipping heck. I'm never going to go back and buy that. It's going for silly money now. So, anyway, but yeah, no, it was a good week down by the coast. Came back today. We're recording. It's Friday, and then this episode will drop on Sunday. But it's a nice little week away, a nice little break. So,
well, nice little birthday break. Sounds like you had a good time.
Yeah, no. What about you? Did you have a good week?
No.
Oh, you worked. No one.
Yes. So that's the extent of my week. No.
Just
it's
work.
over now, and that's it.
Okay. So this week's verses. Did I throw you off? Because I didn't actually tell you. Normally I tell you, but I quickly threw this together because
I saw the news
It
drop.
made me laugh. It made me laugh when I thought of it. You saw the news drop, yeah?
Yeah, so the news that inspired this post was Idris Elba is going to be voicing Knuckles in the Sonic remake, or not remake, I'm sorry, the Sonic sequel.
Yes.
Which I actually just watched that original, the first film, like 2 weeks ago, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. So I'm excited to see what the second film brought. And then, so this week's versus was Bloodsport versus Knuckles. And surprisingly, Knuckles did really, really well.
There was a lot of comments pro Bloodsport, but on the story,
the people in the stories, I voted for Knuckles. I think if Bloodsport wants to beat Knuckles, he got to catch him first. So
that's what I thought. I thought, man, that guy goes too fast. Bloodsport just walks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did shoot Superman with a kryptonite bullet. So if he can catch a speeding bullet with a bullet, then he might be able to catch Knuckles. But I'm still gonna put my money on Knuckles.
Yeah, I feel Knuckles, but then could this be a draw? Could this week's be another draw? The comments were pretty leaning towards Bloodsport. The story was heavily towards Knuckles. I agree with you. I voted for Knuckles.
Yeah.
I personally feel if we're both saying Knuckles, let's call Knuckles the winner.
Yeah, we declare this is going to be a technical knockout, a TKO. We're declaring Knuckles the winner this week of who wins.
But normally I run the verses past you before I drop them, but I didn't because I was on holiday. I was kind of just like I just put it up. And but did it make you laugh when you saw it?
It did, because I saw all of the posts about, oh my god, Idris Elba is going to be voicing Knuckles, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. And then before I could even let that sink in, it popped up on my feed, and I was like, oh my god, Bloodsport versus Knuckles, this is awesome.
Oh, it made me chuckle. Like I was like, oh, that would be a good one.
Although we must be big Idris Elba fans, because this is his second appearance on our Who Wins Wednesday.
Oh no, I know. Yeah, so, well, it was a different character.
Yeah,
Luther before, and he won that one. But
yes.
this was him versus himself.
Yeah,
really. But
so he's still a winner. Basically, Idris Elba is undefeated on our Who Wins Wednesday polls.
Yeah. But yeah, Knuckles definitely hands down. He'd find a way.
Yeah, he'd find a way. He's crafty.
Plus, he's a computer game character, and they get more than one life.
This is so true. So true.
I mean, and judging by the Suicide Squad, you don't get more than one life.
Well, judging by this film, yeah. But before we get to that, we got a little bit of news to cover. So first up, one of the things, this little bit made me very happy because I am a big Addams Family fan. So a few months ago, they did announce that they were going to be doing a Wednesday series, which follows Wednesday Addams to Nevermore Academy. And Jenny Ortega was cast as Wednesday Addams. And they just announced that Catherine Zeta-Jones and Luis Guzman are going to be playing Morticia and Gomez, which is perfect. To be honest, the only person better than Catherine Zeta-Jones to play Morticia Addams would have been Eva Green if they were going a younger Morticia route. I think Catherine Zeta-Jones is going to be amazing in this role. I'm hoping some kind of way, somehow, Angelica Houston has some sort of cameo or something in the series. But I am super excited that Catherine Zeta-Jones is going to be taking on Morticia Addams. So originally, the roles were played by Carolyn Jones and John Astin as Morticia and Gomez, but made famous, I would say, by Angelica Houston and Raul Julia, which... Good grief. The Addams Family, and then Addams Family Values. Oh my God. I recently watched Addams Family Values again, and Christopher Lloyd as Cousin Fester, or Uncle Fester. Oh my God. That movie is perfect. And of course, Joan Cusack as Debbie. She's psychotic. It's amazing. Anyway, love the Addams Family. I'm excited to see where this new series goes.
I have nothing to add.
Mark is not a fan.
I don't like the Addams Family.
Love the Addams Family. Love it.
So talking of things I like, what if? I watched the first episode this week. You've not watched it, shame on you. But anyway,
I forgot. I really did forget. Sorry.
I made myself during my holiday. Marvel. I was like, they'll get half an hour out of me this week. So I watched What If. I loved the first episode. We will talk about what we think another time because some people will come back to What If. However, they have announced that there's going to be more. Series producer Brad Winderbaum. I don't know how you say his surname. I said there's going to be multiple animated projects, various phases of development. He's also said there'll be more creative freedom with storytelling when using the animation as a medium, which I can see that because they probably don't really care too much. However, there's no feature-length projects planned.
Not for the MCU.
Anyway, you can expect obviously a second season of What If, and also more MCU animated series in the future. I enjoyed the first episode of What If. I liked the fact that it was kind of like a one and done. It reminded me, well, I mean, obviously the whole point is that it's based off of the comics from mainly from the 90s. I remember picking up the occasional What If comic, and I never collected them in any entirety. Just be like, if there was a story that you particularly liked, you know, I don't know, like what if Spider-Man became the Punisher, and you know, all these kind of things, or what if, I don't know, one of them I always remember got turned into a series, and what if I think it was What If Spider-Girl Lives or something like that. So there was this whole storyline about Mary Jane and Peter Parker having a baby, and the baby was made to disappear because Marvel didn't want Peter Parker to get too old, and they felt like having a baby was they'd written themselves into a hole because it made Mary Jane pregnant, but they didn't want her to lose the baby because they felt like that was kind of aging her. So they kind of just magicked the baby out, shall we say? But the baby got disappeared in the middle of the night, kind of thing.
Oh, the beauty of erasers.
And then there was this What If comic about what if, you know, the baby had become Spider-Girl, and that one issue I remember being really popular, and they actually made a Spider-Girl series that was set in a possible future, and that went on I'm pretty sure for like over 100 issues or something like that. But that was the only one I really saw from What If that actually went on to any length of time. But what was funny about this first episode of What If with Captain Carter, it wasn't even based off a What If comic. It was based off of an issue from a comic series called The Exiles, and the Exiles used to travel to parallel worlds, and they used to have all like essentially variations on Marvel's main continuity. And one of the characters was Captain America, who was Peggy Carter. So that's where that idea came from for this episode. So I actually love the episode, and I really excited to see more of it. But I particularly loved the animation. I thought the animation was so unique. So if they keep with the style of the animation, I'm keen to see what more they're going to do. And yeah, I'm hopefully, you know, I can't remember exactly where their rights sit with Spider-Man, but I hope that we can see more Spider-Man coming into this as well.
I mean, I'll be excited once it's all done to binge it, and then we can talk about which episodes were our favorites.
Oh yeah. I know we'll do that. So
yeah.
Anyway, so Chloe Bennet has left the CW's Powerpuff Girls live action TV series, apparently due to scheduling conflicts.
Quote unquote scheduling conflicts.
She probably just had enough.
Yeah, she's like, F this noise, man.
So we've mentioned the Powerpuff Girls before, the TV series on CW. They'd already filmed a pilot. CW didn't like it. They said they had to reshoot it. So Chloe Bennet was in the pilot that CW said needs some work, and off you go to go remake it. Somewhere along the line, she's now busy, stepped away. I feel like if you signed a contract to be in something, you're supposed to make room on your schedule for the thing you signed up for. Like,
you make room based on the schedule that is provided in the contract. When the contract extends beyond the scheduling timeframe, then you have rights to say, I am not rearranging my schedule any further. Sorry.
No, I get that. But what I'm saying is, if she wanted to, she would make room for it.
If why would you? This has been an ill-fated announcement of a series since the very beginning.
So, I mean, the live action series is meant to take place when they're older. I've never watched the cartoon, to be honest.
Okay. The cartoon was fantastic, first of all.
Yeah.
Can't believe you didn't watch that. You have girls. How do you not watch this kind of stuff?
It came out before they were born.
I know, but like they watch old stuff, don't they?
They watch a lot of Disney.
Oh, well, this is Nickelodeon, so. I mean, Cartoon Network.
It was
sorry.
we don't have Cartoon Network here.
Oh, okay.
I'm not be honest with you. Majority of the stuff that was on Cartoon Network. No, we do have it in this country. Sorry, but we don't have it in our house. I didn't like a lot of what Cartoon Network put out. It was all that. It was all that type of artwork, like Powerpuff Girls.
Oh my
god!
That phase from like the late 90s to the early 2000s was Cartoon Network in its Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, Ed, Edd and Eddie, Courage the Cowardly Dog. Oh my god, that was a fantastic run of cartoons.
The last three things, I don't know what they were, but
what is wrong with you, Mark?
The Johnny Bravo, the Dexter's Lab, and the Powerpuff Girls were not for me. I don't like any of that kind of art. And
you know what, guys? I'm gonna fight Mark one of these days. I'm just gonna fight him on this podcast. We're gonna have a knockdown, drag out. Who wins Wednesday between me and Mark? Because we don't have the same taste.
I don't like that. No, I like the kind of artwork that you saw in like What If. I like a lot of anime artwork. Like I like I Castlevania. I love that artwork. I think it's great. I just don't like the cheesy, wacky artwork, it never appealed because this all came out when I was like a child, and it didn't appeal to me as a child.
But they were all so funny. Oh my God. Cow and Chicken. Oh my God. Cow and Chicken. Cow and Chicken was not a kid's cartoon, and it never should have been on Cartoon Network, but it was so good.
I preferred more serious stuff. Like on Cartoon Network, they had Johnny Quest. I really liked Johnny Quest.
Oh yeah, their remake of Johnny Quest was really good.
Oh, that's what I mean. See, you agree. Like, there you go. So I liked that. They did a really good job with that. If they'd have done more of that, that was awesome. So I maybe. You could, I could be persuaded to go back and rewatch some of this Powerpuff Girl stuff and see if my opinion may have changed because I was only like 10.
You were not 10. You were not 10 because I was like in high school. So you were not 10.
Somewhere between 10 and 15, definitely. Like this came out and it just wasn't for me. Like just back then. Maybe if I rewatch it, I might be like, oh yeah, I can see it's funny. Yeah.
Now I got the Cow and Chicken theme song stuck in my head. So
anyway. So the show is meant to still have some sort of life, as what's his name? Diablo Cody. And
her name.
Oh, sorry, her name. Diablo Cody and Greg Bertolani are behind the scenes, still involved, etc. And
I mean, Berlanti basically built the CW's whole Arrowverse. So if he can keep that thing running. He might be able to pull this one out of the gutter. We'll see. I don't know.
For me, though, like Chloe Bennet is one of the main things that interested me in this show. I definitely wanted to watch it. I love Chloe Bennet, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., big fan, watched every episode. I don't think I've seen her in anything else, but I liked the idea of her doing something superhero-y still, although I really hope that Marvel somehow find a way to bring her character into Disney Plus and Marvel, and somehow I know Marvel would never address any of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff, but like I would love it if somehow she got brought in proper, and she was brilliant in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So when I heard she was going to be in Powerpuff Girls, I was like, oh cool. Now she's not in Powerpuff Girls, I am less interested.
Well, in other live action news, Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender live action series has begun its casting. After that 2000 film and that debacle, not so sure why we need another live action Avatar: The Last Airbender. However,
but could it be maybe they're just trying to make it right?
Yes, which I think is exactly what they're trying to do. They have definitely started on the right foot because their production team, the executive producer, the showrunner, the directors are of Asian descent, and their main cast is of Asian descent as well. So we are off to a good start casting wise and representation wise for this live action Avatar series. So I mean, it's on Netflix, so I'll see how it turns out. Also, My Hero Academia is getting a live action film. I really don't know how I feel about that. I feel like there's way too many special effects in My Hero Academia. I love My Hero Academia so much, and I think that the anime is fantastic as is. Also, the My Hero Academia films are phenomenal. Both casts are phenomenal. The Japanese cast and the English cast are great. But the The director that they have tapped for the My Hero Academia film is Shinsuke Sato, who most recently did Alice in Borderland on Netflix, which is also a great series. So I'm hopeful, but at the same time, I don't see why we need a live action My Hero Academia. That's just me.
They do live action of everything in the end. If you make a comic, or if you make an anime, or if you make a cartoon, I mean, at some point, it's always when are they going to make the live action? Because they know that live action will appeal to a bigger audience. So
I'm nervous, though. I'm nervous.
Could it be the next Ghost in the Shell?
Oh, it better be better than Ghost in the Shell. Good God, I hope it's better than Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, do you know what? I love, like, Ghost in the Shell is like one of my favorite anime movies of all time, and even I was like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I love Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, but I don't like Scarlett Johansson playing Asian people.
No, but not for this movie. Like, I think like Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, amazing. Like, but not a great choice for this movie or that movie. And the movie in general wasn't very good.
Mm-hmm.
Even Scarlett, unfortunately, I think even if they'd have put an Asian person in, I still think it wouldn't have been a good movie.
Yeah, well,
like, even if they did.
Yeah, and Alita Battle Angel was okay. I've never watched that anime, but I really enjoyed that film.
No, I've not seen the anime, but I love the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is a really good movie. I don't think that's getting a sequel, unfortunately. But
no, I don't think so.
It ends on a cliffhanger, annoyingly. Anyway, I will watch all of these live action thingies.
How exciting.
I would like to say, though, I've never watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've seen a couple of episodes, but it is something that I really do want to watch. It is something that's like on my to-watch list at some point. I would like to watch the TV series. And I know it had a follow-up series as well, didn't it? I forgot the name of it.
Korra.
Yeah. And I know Korra, a lot of people were talking about Korra.
The Legend of Korra, yeah. Man, I think your girls would like Avatar, the animated one. It's so cute.
I know you're not going to want to hear this, but they actually did like the live action film.
I mean, they're kids. I'll forgive it.
So anyway, we'll be back in a moment.
Have you ever dreamt of being a superhero? Legends: A Superhero Story is a new actual play podcast using the Legends Superhero role-playing game system, available on all podcast platforms. This exciting new superhero tabletop RPG follows our Game Master Jack and our fledgling heroes played by Chad, Emily, Amanda, and Daniel as they work their way through their origin story and beyond. Listen in as they discover their powers and abilities. Let's hope they learn to work together as a team in time to save the world and truly become legends. Legends: A Superhero Story is available on all podcast platforms. For more information, follow us on social media at The Legends Cast or visit our website, www.matchplaygames.ca/The Legends Cast.
You gotta be kidding me. You're gonna risk the entire mission for a mental defective dressed as a court jester.
It's coming from a guy that wears a toilet seat on his head. We don't leave one of our own behind.
All right, we'll enter through the third floor and then down to the cellar where they usually keep their detainees. Hopefully Harley's still alive.
It's not a toilet seat. It's a beacon of freedom.
And we're back.
All right, kicking right in. The Suicide Squad. That is the official title of this film. It is not Suicide Squad 2. It is The Suicide Squad. 2021. Directed and written by James Gunn. Produced by Charles Robin and Peter Safran. It stars a lot of people. Margot Robbie, Pete Davidson, Sylvester Stallone, Idris Elba, John Cena, Daniela Melchior, Nathan Fillion, Joel Kinnaman, David Dastmalchian, Alice Braga, Michael Rooker, Fluva Borg, Sean Gunn, Peter Capaldi, Jai Courtney. The list goes on and on. Viola Davis, Storm Reed. There are a ton of people in this movie. So it is the 10th film in the DCEU, that is the DC Extended Universe, and it is a standalone sequel to David Ayer's Suicide Squad from 2016, which this film is sort of based on John Ostrander's 1980 Suicide Squad comics run, loosely based. The closest equivalence here, obviously, it's a sequel to a 2016 film, but also this, to me, it's very, very similar to Birds of Prey in the style and sort of tone of the film.
So Suicide Squad 2016, I think actually very tonally very different. But just before we jump into this review, what were your? It was a long time ago now, 2016. But what do you like when you went and saw this? You probably saw it. Did you go to cinema and watch this, or did you wait till it came out? Yeah, I remember walking into the cinema to see this, and I can tell you now, I walked in full of excitement for this movie. I thought it was going to be absolutely amazing. And when I walked out, I honestly felt such utter disappointment.
Oh man.
And I was trying to reconcile my feelings, thinking maybe I just didn't get it. Maybe I need to rewatch it.
No.
I was really questioning myself. And I remember actually at the time there was no Geeks Unleashed podcast, and I remember literally going on to my podcast app, literally typing in Suicide Squad. So on the drive home, I could hear what other people thought, and other people were tearing it a new one, and I was okay, so these people actually are going far worse than even my own mind is thinking. And so I was incredibly disappointed with the first movie. There was good things in that movie, and the only real good thing in that movie was Margot Robbie, and that's what I had to reconcile in the end, that the main standout for this for the 2016 movie was Margot Robbie. I think she's the one thing that really saved that movie. I'm not saying it turned it into the best film ever, but she was the shining light in that movie. Margot Robbie's portrayal as Harley Quinn, that's what I had to take away from it, was that we got a really amazing Harley Quinn out of that movie. But the worst part about that movie to me was Jared Leto. Honestly, probably the worst Joker we've ever had. He's up there with, unfortunately, Jesse Eisenberg's Luthor. What's crazy to me is two of the biggest villains in the DC comics are just so badly
We're so horribly miscast. Yeah.
Honestly, they could not have picked worse actors. And then, unfortunately, have to criticize the directing here as well. They were directed so badly. The tone difference between the 2016 film and this film is, it's day and night. Honestly. So when you walked out the cinema, before you walked in, were you full of beans? And then when
I went into it, I was excited because I thought that I was excited to see Will Smith's Deadshot against everyone else. I thought that was going to be a really nice kind of contrast. So I was not disappointed in that. However, I really hated Enchantress. I thought that was just an awful choice, especially for a first film. And I just didn't like the way that culture was used in the first Suicide Squad film. And it's just it bugs me so much.
The bits I did like from that first movie, other than Harley Quinn, was how they were trying at that point to have a cohesive universe. I liked that we had Batman arrest Deadshot. I liked the fact that we had the Flash. I liked at the end credit sequence had Bruce Wayne and Amanda Waller, and that's when DC seemed to care about a cohesive universe, which I really loved back then. So although I didn't think it was a good film, and that's fine because you don't always get good first movies. I mean, if you look at Tom Cruise's first in Mission Impossible, that was a terrible first movie, and then the second Mission Impossible still wasn't brilliant.
Actually, I think the first Mission Impossible was pretty good.
No, when you compare it to what came afterwards,
but that's not fair, though. I think the technology upgrades got a lot better. So as the technology got better, everything else got better.
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about technology. I was more there was parts of the script that I wasn't overly happy with. Even when I watched back that film, I still think it was, I don't know, kind of bumbled together. Although you could say Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt was not as experienced, so maybe that's why. I don't know. I didn't love the first movie, but then the second one I thought was okay. And then it was only from number 3 onwards did I think we actually got a really good franchise of movies. So this is kind of, when we talk about the Suicide Squad 2021 movie, I kind of see this as a bit like Mission Impossible. We're just getting the next chapter, but it's not a direct, and a lot of those Mission Impossibles you can just kind of pick them up and go along with them. I know the last couple have been a bit joined up, but up until more recently they were standalone, a bit like a bit like old school James Bonds, really. So, Birds of Prey. I think there's problems with that movie. Firstly, I don't think it should have been called Birds of Prey. I think it should have been called Harley Quinn.
It was called Harley Quinn.
It was Birds of Prey and the Immaculate. What was it called? Something.
The Emancipation.
And Emancipation of Harley Quinn. It should have just been called Harley Quinn. Like maybe featuring Birds of Prey. That's what it should have been called. It was not a Birds of Prey movie in my mind. It was a Harley Quinn movie. That was its biggest problem. I liked the cast of Birds of Prey, but it was a Harley Quinn movie, and I think they should have owned that it was a Harley Quinn movie. I don't know why they decided to do a Birds of Prey movie and not really make it about the Birds of Prey. That was my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping that they do revisit that and give us a sequel.
I don't think they're going to.
They've been talking about Gotham City Sirens. So, I mean, we could still get the same characters, just not in a direct sort of sequel way.
Well, maybe we'll see. Yeah, maybe we'll see a bit like this movie. Maybe it'll just be, or maybe they'll just call it The Birds of Prey and hope that we don't notice that there was a terrible. I wouldn't say Birds of Prey was terrible, sorry, but it wasn't as good as I think it could have been. And I would love to have just seen a pure Birds of Prey movie. So
Birds of Prey was fantastic. I enjoyed it very much.
Oh, no, I actually enjoyed it. I just wish they'd have owned it, that it was a Harley Quinn movie and not a Birds of Prey movie. So that's mine.
With Birds of Prey, for me, I loved the tone shift. I also loved that this was the first R-rated film in the DCEU. And the fact that they fought for that R rating, the hard R, I really enjoyed it. I loved that it was dark without being as heavy as Suicide Squad or any of the Zack Snyder stuff. Like it still had very, still having serious conversations about things, and horrible things still happened. But the colors, the color palette for Birds of Prey was just so different than what DC had been doing before. So to me, it injected this whole new sort of nuance and this whole new world almost into the DCEU. And to be quite honest, if we did not have Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, we would not have had this version of Suicide Squad in 2021.
I think Margot Robbie did an amazing job in Birds of Prey. I loved her narration and her comedy. And honestly, Margot Robbie's a fantastic actress, and I've seen her in other things, and she's been cool too. So, I prefer Birds of Prey a lot more than I did the 2016 version of Suicide Squad. But
yeah, for sure.
My only criticism of the Birds of Prey film is I feel it was more of a Harley Quinn movie rather than a Birds of Prey movie, and I would like to have seen just a Birds of Prey movie if that's what that's kind of what we've been sold. I would have equally been happy with just a Harley Quinn movie. I
really love it. And I want them to give Kathy Yan, who was the director of Birds of Prey, I want them to give her more stuff or more opportunities to keep telling these kinds of stories. Because like I said, I think a lot of what we saw in the Suicide Squad in the 2021 film pulled from the visuals and the sort of storytelling mod and methods that they used in Birds of Prey. We had the time skips in this Suicide Squad film. We had like the scene where Harley Quinn is like going on a rampage, and all of a sudden all of these flowers just start like springing forth from behind her as like this backdrop to her massacre. Tonally, those films are so connected to me, but at the same time, like I want them to let Kathy Yan do more stuff. Like we don't have to have James Gunn in both the DCEU and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like he's already got franchises under his belt. Like let's let someone else have a go.
So talking about James Gunn, it's a nice little bridge there. So I think it's important to talk about James Gunn specifically, obviously the director and writer, but to talk about how we got to this movie. So, and I think it's important as well, because you can see James Gunn, his style and tone throughout the movie, which we are going to get into. He is the man behind Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. And I think it's quite evident when you watch this movie how much of what he's done with Guardians of the Galaxy is injected into this movie. He was fired as director of Guardians of the Galaxy for some inappropriate tweets. We won't go into those now. DC instantly hired him. Well, I can imagine that was like they were like, what? So Guardians of the Galaxy, let's be honest, was completely unknown characters, and just people loved them, and no one knew Star-Lord or Groot was, or Rocket Raccoon or Gamora, and think how popular those two movies were. I know they had the connection of Marvel, but look what James Gunn did for those characters, and I think the general senses are that they loved movies. And so DC instantly hired him to write and direct Suicide Squad. I think Marvel probably inside were like, what have we done? So they instantly rehired him. I don't know what that was because there was a lot of pressure from fans, from the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy, or whether internally they thought, crap, DC's just hired him to do Suicide Squad, and we know how good he is at Marvel. I mean, I don't know if that was the thing there, that they just thought, crap, we better get him back. We better get him to finish off Guardians of the Galaxy. So
the bottom line there is Marvel caved to the pressure, and they rehired him because of that pressure.
Yeah, so they rehired him for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and we also are going to get a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. So,
to be fair, I much prefer his Suicide Squad to any of the Guardians of the Galaxy films.
You're looking forward to the holiday special, though?
Nope. The Guardians of the Galaxy films would be bottom feeders in my top 25 Marvel MCU films. Like, they would be down there with Thor and Ant-Man.
I love number one. I love the number one. I didn't like number two too much, but I think number one was good. I really did enjoy number one, but I didn't like Ego, the planet, as sort of the villain in number two. I don't know. I mean, Marvel's got a whole pool of villains and heroes to pull from. Ego is one of them. So now we've done that. Hopefully they'll never use him again. Well, so unless Galactus gets hungry or something. So, but no, I think Ego's gone anyway. So, but I think it's important to recognize how we got to James Gunn into this movie.
Yes. Basically, DC got very, very, very lucky. It was a series of unfortunate events, and DC capitalized. And I think Suicide Squad is a win in that regard for them.
Okay, so now we're going to jump into the meat and bones of this review. So, summary of the plot, just quickly. Amanda Waller sends in 2 teams to South American island nation of Corto Maltese. After its government is overthrown by an anti-American regime. However, what they're there for is to remove evidence of the American government's involvement in Starro. So the 2 teams go in, and one of them doesn't really do too well. So
that is an understatement.
Team 2 walk in like a piece of cake.
Yeah.
So team 1 get decimated.
Team 1 was the distraction team.
Yeah.
And we got, you want to talk about an opening sequence. Good grief. We got bases getting blown off, people getting crushed by helicopters, cut in half by helicopter blades. I mean, it was ridiculous, the amount of carnage on that beach.
I think, though, that set the precedent for this movie, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
No one is safe.
Yes.
So then Team 2 obviously go in, and we follow Team 2 throughout this movie. And actually, it'd be nice just to hear, Jasmine, what's your sort of summary thoughts and feelings of this movie?
I really enjoyed this movie. This movie is 100% in my wheelhouse. It is hyper violent. It is funny. It doesn't take itself seriously. It has some really great action set pieces. And it has the craziest, most ridiculous villain, yet everyone takes the villain seriously. And so it's kind of like, are you shitting me? We've got a giant starfish like rampaging through a city, and everybody is actually like playing their part to a T, like, holy shit, we got to do something to get rid of this thing. It was great. It was so fun, and it was so different. Again, very similar to Birds of Prey in how different it was from the tone of the rest of the DC films that we've been getting lately. It is a complete 180 from anything that we've seen from Snyder. His films are darker and definitely more serious. They kind of lack a little bit of spirit. Although they do still tell, like, I think Zack Snyder still is masterful at storytelling. But this film was fun. Like, I watched it on HBO Max and sat on my couch and actually laughed out loud, which I hardly ever do. Like, even when I'm watching stuff that I love, like, I rarely ever laugh out loud. But this movie to me was a laugh out loud funny. Just, again, the ridiculousness of the character, the banter between the characters. Like, Rick Flag actually had a personality versus the flat version of Rick Flag that we got in the first film. Harley Quinn is about the same. Wouldn't expect anything less. She's very consistent over the 3 films that she's been in so far. And the addition of all of the new characters, at first you think like, oh man, this is bigger than an ensemble cast. Like, how are they going to make all of these people work together? They make it work because they get rid of half of them in the first 15 minutes. But like, the characters that stick around, all of the new characters, the interaction is so great. All of them have really good chemistry and they bounce off of each other really well. And there's one scene, again, hyper violent, but there's the scene where Bloodsport and Peacemaker are running through the jungle and they're in the guerrilla camp and they're killing all of the freedom fighters, and they don't realize that they're killing the freedom fighters, but they're also competing with each other while they're killing all of these fighters, like keeping score. Who has the best type of bullets, who's got the best kill. So it was so much fun. It was again, this movie was like my taste to a T. So I absolutely loved it.
I agree with you. I actually went back and I didn't watch the whole of the 2016 version before this review, but I watched about the first 15-20 minutes just to kind of remind myself a little bit of the style of that movie, because it's been so long since I've seen it, and to remind myself of that style going into this. And honestly, there's like 2 different movies, like 2
completely different.
I mean, I know that
without Harley Quinn, it almost feels like they're not even the same people.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying though about Rick Flag, because the Rick Flag in the first movie was a bit of a dick, and so this movie though was completely tonal. The tone between both movies was completely different.
Yep. I think this one is a huge upgrade.
Yeah, I think what was done was we kind of like, although we have an alien, like it's kind of, to me, which sounds weird, a lot more grounded. And although that we have the crazy moments like Nathan Fillion's TDK arms coming off and stuff like that, it kind of does fit in with the movie. Like, it's not out of proportion to everything else that's going on. I really do. The general style of this movie is brilliant, and although I would say the plot of it isn't life-changing.
No, not at all.
It is. I actually think it is well done because it's not an overly complicated plot, and that's where sometimes
that's what's brilliant about it.
But that's where sometimes some movies can go wrong with trying to have a complex plot. And actually, no, it's not a complex plot. The movie is actually about having fun.
Yes.
I mean, it's got that whole kind of Deadpool vibe about it. Yes. You're laughing about violence. You shouldn't be laughing about violence. But I think you have to accept, look, we're laughing about fictitious violence. We're not
right. This is definitely the kind of leave your brain at the door of the theater before you go inside and just sit down and enjoy the film for what it is. Don't read too much into it.
Definitely, there's so much about how we'll talk about structure in a minute, but I enjoy the overall structure of the movie, how it's put together from start to finish. I watched the whole thing and I just absolutely loved it. And it was just, I'm not bothered that there was a previous movie. I'm not one of these people who are like, I don't like, because I mean, although you could say this is a soft reboot, it's a bit, again, coming to that Mission Impossible James Bond type thing. We're just picking up the next movie. You don't need to watch the next one.
Right. And what's fun is that they still use some of the characters, but at the same time, you don't have to know. Like, if you had never seen the film in 2016, you lose nothing. No. Like, there's no loss to watch this film.
I think in some ways you kind of gain a little bit because they do carry over some of those characters. So, and I think, to have Harley Quinn carry over and Rick Flag carry over, and they were some of my favorites from the movie before, even though Rick Flag is slightly changed from the last movie.
He pulled that stick out of his ass, that's for sure.
But I do love the actor though, especially because I loved the first thing I ever saw him in was The Killing.
Yes,
and I love The Killing. Did you ever watch The Killing?
Yes, it was so good.
Oh, it was so good. I think, whenever that actor's in anything, even if it's something rubbish like RoboCop, I still RoboCop was a bad film. The remake I'm talking about. So that was unfortunately a bad choice for him. But everything else that he's in, I absolutely love. And so I was glad that they carried him over and Amanda Waller over as well. And I'm glad that James Gunn didn't recast people. So
yes.
Let's talk about the characters. So,
all right, so many to choose from.
Before you jump into the characters, I posted on Instagram top who were people's top threes.
Everybody had one person the same.
Yeah. So Nerd Nostalgia though were very jokey. They said them easily the most influential characters for me were Weasel, Blackguard, and TDK. I think there was some humor in that comment. So,
yes, for sure.
The
three characters that literally do nothing in the whole film.
So the podcast for Nerds by Nerds, they said their three favorites were King Shark, Bloodsport, and Ratcatcher 2. Mm-hmm. Fable from One Collection Down said Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and King Shark.
Mm-hmm. Noticing a trend?
Never Word said Ratcatcher 2, King Shark, and Bloodsport. You wrote yours on there, which was King Shark, Polka Dot Man, and Sebastian. An unusual choice, that last one. The Brothers in Arms
was so cute.
The Brothers in Arms podcast, Brothers in Armchairs, podcast said King Shark, Polka Dot Man, and Peacemaker, and then somebody wrote one where you can decipher there are 7 survivors in this picture, and my 3 favorites are among these. That was comics cartoon. So Thomas Jason 89 said Rick Flag, The Thinker, and Bloodsport. We've got issues. Comic Store said Polka Dot Man, Ratcatcher, and Peacemaker. And Nick from Original Geek Comics said King Shark, Peacemaker, and Ratcatcher 2. There's generally a lot of King Shark.
A lot of shark love, man. A lot of shark love.
Yeah, King Shark is getting a lot there. Peacemaker comes out a lot. Ratcatcher 2 comes up a lot. Polka Dot Man comes up occasionally. But yeah, Bloodsport occasionally too. So yeah.
So who are yours then? If you've read off all of those,
it's between Bloodsport, Peacemaker, King Shark, really, Ratcatcher 2. I would say I loved Bloodsport. I thought, who doesn't love Idris Elba in anything anyway? But he really did own the character of Bloodsport.
Yeah.
I criticized John Cena a lot during Fast 9, and I really did enjoy him as Peacemaker. Sorry, I keep saying Peacemaker. I
tell you that if you gave him a chance, his comedic timing was freaking gold?
Oh yeah, his role in this movie as Peacemaker, I'm struggling with his name, was so day and night to Fast 9.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, in Fast 9, he was awful, but in this, really good. And actually, I want to go with Ratcatcher 2. I really liked Ratcatcher 2. She really appealed to me. Was like the heart of this movie.
She was like the heart of the team too.
Yeah, the heart of the team, the heart of the movie. But I love the interaction between Idris Elba and John Cena. And like you mentioned earlier, that scene where they're killing those people, but also having a good time about it while they're doing it. And that one, like when Idris Elba said, no, that doesn't count, that one. And he's like, no, wait.
Yeah,
like,
wait for it, exploding bullets.
Yeah, those 3 have got to be like my favorites. It's hard not to love King Shark too, to be honest.
I mean, he's just so sweet. Like, he's such a good guy. Like, I don't know, he made friends, and then you don't eat your friends, okay? Like, that's just the bottom, that's the top rule. Like, you don't eat your friends, okay?
But that was Ratcatcher though. Like, Ratcatcher did say, no, come on, you don't eat your friends. But and it's crazy to think that Sylvester Stallone was the voice of King Shark. Like, that
I had no idea. Like, I had no idea. Not until literally we started recording this podcast, and I was like, what?
But like, what's crazy, because Sylvester Stallone has a minor role in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which says again a lot about James Gunn, that people want to carry on working with this guy.
And James Gunn puts his brother in everything, because his brother Sean Gunn played Weasel.
Weasel. Anyway, so yeah, those are my three favorites was Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and Ratcatcher 2. So
yeah, I'm sticking with mine with King Shark, Polka Dot Man, and Sebastian.
Yeah, but then by proxy, maybe Ratcatcher. So.
Yeah, I mean, I did like her. I liked her a lot, but Sebastian, I don't know. I like furry, cute rodents. I can't help it. Like.
So, of the many deaths in the movie, was there any that you were particularly disappointed by and wish hadn't have happened? Like James Gunn had pulled that trigger, like just one of the many.
Yeah, Rick Flag.
Yeah,
I was surprisingly disappointed by Rick Flag for sure.
They did a lot to redeem Rick Flag in this movie, and they shouldn't have killed Rick Flag off.
Yeah, I kind of expected a lot of people to die. I think after Rick Flag, my second most disappointing, oh man, I wish he had made Polka Dot Man. Yeah. Just like that one line, I'm a motherfucking superhero, and then he gets killed immediately. It's so great though.
I mean, well timed in terms of the direction and writing. You know, you're like, yeah, Pokemon. Suddenly Pokemon, Polka Dot Man. Fucking Pokemon. Polka Dot Man goes from being the joke character to actually being badass.
And that's the thing. When I started this film, I was for sure I had already just predetermined Polka Dot Man is going to be my least favorite, and he turned out to be one of my favorite characters. And especially the scene when that Citadel was coming down, and or Jotunheim. What the hell did they name it? Jotunheim? I have no idea. But Jotunheim, when it's coming down, and he's like, "Oh my god, they killed Milton." And Bloodsport and Harley are like, well, Bloodsport is like, Milton was still with us, and Harley is like, who the hell is Milton? Oh man, that scene made me laugh so hard.
And that scene where he's going about Milton, blah blah blah, honestly, Harley Quinn though is just so good. To be honest, I know I just said a minute ago I missed Harley Quinn off my top 3, but Harley Quinn as well though. Margot Robbie was amazing in this movie. So. For the character death, disappointed by. I think Rick Flag. I'd have to agree with you that. Although I felt bad that Polka Dot Man got killed off the moment he starts to become I'm a hero. You see that sort of redemption arc and then gets killed off. But Rick Flag to me should never have been killed off.
Yeah, that to me that came out of nowhere. I was like, are you seriously? Seriously.
And the fact that as well that they made Peacemaker, fuck's sake. Peacemaker be the one to do it as well, which we'll talk about Peacemaker in a bit, but the fact that they made him do it.
It made sense because he's actually probably, I would say he's the most sadistic of all of the people in the group, because he literally told one of the characters, he's like, I am interested in peace. And if I have to kill men, women, children to get peace, I don't care. I'll kill whoever I need to kill for peace. And they just looked at him like, that's not really how peace works, but okay. Yeah.
So do you have any thoughts on the characters that kind of crossed over from this first movie to the second movie? I think you mentioned Rick Flag earlier about the character change between the two of them, but any other thoughts? So obviously we had Harley Quinn come over, Boomerang.
I would say I was disappointed with Amanda Waller. I actually thought that she was absolutely perfect in the first film, because to me, the Wall has always been the character that is very, very this is how I'm going to do things. I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks. And she played that part perfectly in the first film. But in this film, it almost felt like James Gunn didn't know how to utilize an actual serious character, because I don't think that there's very much humor in Amanda Waller to begin with. So to turn her into sort of the butt of the jokes, it didn't feel right. And so I didn't really like any of the scenes that she was, except for when she's walking through the prison, putting the team together and introducing everybody to each other. That scene was really great. But the scenes in the control room or the command center, I just didn't feel like that was very Amanda Waller-esque behavior. Just me.
Firstly, I like the fact that he did carry characters over. Mm-hmm. I like characters and actors, that there wasn't any recasting. I like the fact that we had. I was really pleased that Rick Flag came over. Obviously, we said he was a bit annoyed by his death, but I like the fact that Rick Flag came across. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that the difference between the two of them, where in the first movie he was very critical of a Suicide Squad. But in this movie, it was like guns blazing.
Yep.
You know, he was kind of team leader, you know, and I love the moment between him and Weasel where, well, Weasel with the team where he's like, you know,
nobody checked to see if Weasel could swim.
And but the big differences between the two of them were just day and night. I mean, same actor, same character, but the way it was played and again directed, just clear differences. Harley Quinn again being carried over. I was amazing. I think that was brilliant. I was a bit disappointed though they killed Boomerang off so fast.
Yeah, that came to me. That was a surprise. Yeah, for sure.
So other than Harley Quinn, most of them, I know Amanda Waller. To me, she feels like she's kind of now been sidelined for any potential sequels. Like they kind of, unless she's going to be really peed and go after them or something like that. But anyway,
well, she might be in the Peacemaker series.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll see. Yeah, but the fact that they killed off Boomerang and Rick Flag, and you know, kind of wiped out a load of other characters. I know that a lot of them were new for this movie, but it kind of like felt like that James Gunn was kind of wiping the slate clean a little bit. So
yeah.
But yeah, let's kind of talk about Deadshot and Bloodsport. So originally Idris Elba was supposedly going to be recast as Deadshot. It kind of makes me wonder though whether somebody more senior said, no, let's not recast just in case Will Smith wants to come back.
No, I think they never said that they were going to recast Will Smith's character. They said
that was like
they brought Idris Elba on. Yeah, but they didn't say what role he was going to be. It was like Will Smith is leaving, but Idris Elba is coming on for the sequel. And so everybody implied like, oh, he's just going to take over as Deadshot. But later they finally announced that he was going to be a totally different character, which was definitely the right move.
Well, yeah, a whole new character, which basically does the same thing as Deadshot. So to me, it felt like that was meant to be Deadshot. And then because Will Smith didn't want to come back. So if they were to make another movie, would you like to see Will Smith come back?
No, I'm happy with Bloodsport.
So no. I don't mean like to get rid of Bloodsport. Like
just to have Deadshot back.
Yeah. Like
I mean, if you've already killed off Rick Flag and that kind of thing, although I don't know how that would work with two sort of leaders in a group.
I know we'll talk about the movie, the ending and stuff actually at the end of this review, but my thoughts were how it ends. Could Amanda Waller put together another Suicide Squad with Deadshot to go after Bloodsport? That's kind of what.
Oh, interesting. It could be.
That kind of was my thought. Be. But
to pit like sniper against sniper, pretty much.
That would be a cool follow-up. So in terms of the structure of this movie, like what were your thoughts in just the script and honestly, for me, I laughed so many times throughout this movie. Like, and that didn't happen the first time around.
No, the first movie is not funny. Like there are parts in the first film.
It's funny, but not the right kind of funny.
Like there are parts in the first film, but I think that has a lot more to do with the actors because most of the funny parts happen between Will Smith and Margot Robbie. Not necessarily like on purpose. So for the structure, I was a little confused at the beginning because we were jumping between present day and 3 days ago or 5 days ago or however many days. Like we were time jumping at the very beginning. And so
but also that happened again later on as well.
Yeah. So it that part did get a little bit confusing, especially because like I'm pretty sure there was one part where like, of course, this is all a trick to fool the audience. And it at least it worked on me. Like where on the beach, it looks like a missile goes right into the little hidey hole where Rick Flag and Harley Quinn are. So I just assumed that the whole team was dead. And then 5 minutes later, like we see Rick Flag going one way in the jungle and Harley Quinn going another way in the jungle. And I was like, I thought you guys just got blown up. So it was a little confusing at the very beginning. Other than that, I really enjoyed it. The pacing was great. Could it have been a little bit shorter? Yes. I think that there were some parts that did drag on a little too long, like some of those Family Guy scenes where it's just like, okay, we get the joke. We get it. Can we move on? I'd say it probably could have been like 20 minutes shorter. But the writing, this cast was utilized to perfection. You had the actors that could carry the comedy, but could also do all of these heavy action sequences as well. And to be able to pull that out of them was done really well. So I loved the pacing. I loved the story. I loved the dialogue. It just felt like if you're going to have a squad of literal prisoners that you use to your own benefit, the least you could do is let them have a little fun along the way. And I think that this movie does exactly that, as opposed to taking people out of prison and putting them on this, on this super heavy, super serious, like world altering mission. Because there's almost no fun at all in the first Suicide Squad film. And this one is, yes, like if I'm reading something called the Suicide Squad, I'm assuming that you guys are like a last resort. And so this definitely felt like a team of last resort type people. It kind of reminded me of, which is another sort of DC offshoot film called The Losers, which also starred Idris Elba, who was Idris Elba, yeah. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Chris Evans, Zoe Saldana. Love that film. And this Suicide Squad reminded me a lot of The Losers.
Yeah, actually, it did make me think of The Losers. Mm-hmm. I love that film as well.
Yeah.
Who couldn't love Idris Elba again in another movie?
Right.
So I think for me, this movie felt like a combination of scenes put together. That's kind of how it was structured. It was moving from one scene to another.
Yeah, it was not fluid.
Yeah, and it wasn't. And for me, if I could cut something out, it would be the whole weird scene of Margot Robbie getting put in a dress, meeting this future president guy, suddenly going to be his wife, her killing him. That whole thing was just so weird and unnecessary.
That was my favorite Harley Quinn scene.
I love the bit where she escapes. I love that bit. And there's all colors and birds flying everywhere. And she's got the staff and flicking everywhere. That whole escape scene was brilliant. I just didn't really see the need for her to meet this guy and become his wife. And then
I loved it because she was the one that said, look, I made a promise to myself that I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to fall for a toxic man again. And the fact that like after that whole sequence, she just shot him in the gut, like without hesitation or anything.
That bit was unexpected. Like,
but it was so great. I did. That as soon as like it got quiet, I was like, she is going to kill this man. Like this is what she's going to do. And I was right. But no, I loved it because I thought that it showed growth of her character from the Birds of Prey film. How, she's coming off this breakup with Joker. She finally realized that he was toxic and not good for her. And then she finds this other guy. And at first she's like, oh my God, I'm going to be like the princess of this country or whatever. And then he starts talking all this bullshit. And she's like, I made a promise to myself. And you got some serious red flags when you're talking about murdering women and kids. So just going to go ahead and nix this like before it ever gets off the ground. I loved it.
I just thought the whole scene, like where she was in the prison, I think maybe some of it could have been altered a little bit. I just didn't like getting her out of the mud hut prison thingy, putting her in a dress, and she's like, oh, I'm a princess. It kind of just felt a little bit like out of place, that kind of moment. Although I do love the bit where she's like, yeah, I'm going to look out for myself. I'm not going to be with some crazy man boyfriend anymore. I did like that bit in terms of, but I kind of felt like we could have done with less with the dress and the makeup, because it kind of, to me, didn't really suit the rest of the film, because the rest of the film was just so aggressive and violent and quite comical. And then we had this weird sort of scene stuck in the middle to me where she's putting a dress and a bit of makeup. That to me, I would maybe edit it a little bit. But other than that, I actually really loved everything that we got in this movie. And, I've heard some criticisms about the length of time. I'm quite happy with it. Like, I don't really. I mean,
I didn't feel it. I just think that there were some like you didn't like that Harley scene. The scene in Jotunheim where it's kind of falling apart, and we're literally like falling floor by floor by floor by like we get it. Like the building is coming down. We don't really need to go floor by floor.
I think that was done to be funny.
Yeah, but see, I'm not a fan of that kind of humor, and that's why I said it's like the Family Guy humor, where like that bit where Peter like hurts his knee and he's just like. Ooh, and it just goes on for like 5 minutes and you're like, fuck, we get it. Like your knee hurts. Okay, let's move on.
So James Gunn in the first movie, in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, extremely well known for his music, and there's a lot of this. So I was thinking about this. So the first Suicide Squad embraced a lot of hip hop. And we don't get any of that in like this movie. But we've got, there's a lot of music that's used in here, like the Jim Carroll band, the people who died at the beginning of the movie, where obviously loads of people died. I thought that was quite well timed, like music. And just like, I think it was Ain't Got Nobody was played as well, where Harley Quinn's breaking her way out. I thought the music was used really well during this movie, and it wasn't. I think with the difference between Guardians of the Galaxy and this movie is that Guardians of the Galaxy the music was used as part of the plot for Peter Quill, because that was like, volume
that was him holding on to his mom,
like his mom. So the music for this wasn't used for any character development; it was just purely used for entertainment for the audience. So I mean, did anything jump out about the music for you during watching this? I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun how it was used.
I don't think I paid much attention after the sequence where Viola Davis is recruiting Michael Rooker to be part of the Suicide Squad. And in that sequence at the beginning where she's pulling him out of prison and putting him onto this squad, they play Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash, which was super, super appropriate, I thought. So that was pretty much the only time that I paid attention to the music. Otherwise, I was totally engrossed in like what was going on screen.
Occasionally, the music would pull me out. Like when the music was on, like I definitely felt that James Gunn had used some really unique song choices that did kind of pull me out of the movie, which you could actually say is that a good thing, really, if it pulls you out of the movie and it's making you want to check what you're listening to. So, I don't know. It's probably people's preference. Some people love that kind of stuff. Some people don't. But there was, like I say, there was a couple of times I was like, "Whoa, what is this song?" Like, but then is that a good thing if you're suddenly being pulled out of the movie and you want to know what you're listening to rather than what you're watching? So I guess that's just down to preference. I liked the music that was used, and there was probably many other songs like you just said. I was more engrossed in the movie most of the time, but there was a couple of unique song choices that did definitely pull me out and make me want to like Shazam it and find out what I was listening to. But I think it was good. I think I prefer the soundtrack for this versus the original.
I mean,
I'm not anti. I
although I'm not gonna. I did love that Lamborghini song.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I love that Lamborghini song. I honestly used to listen to that song like loads.
Yeah,
but I would say that more music from this movie jumped out at me than the original movie.
Yeah, well, I think that this movie just had more classics, which is sort of James Gunn's
very typical
style.
James Gunn. Yeah,
exactly.
It's his style. Yeah, so that's what I mean. You can see his sort of.
You can definitely feel his influence on the film all throughout.
Yeah, and I completely agree though. Lamborghini from the original was brilliant, but production, money, CGI, location,
great, A+, all of it, loved it.
I mean,
they brought a freaking starfish kaiju to life. It was great.
What I love about King Shark though is I know he's CGI, but it doesn't feel CGI.
He looked better than Killer Croc.
Oh yeah.
Now I love the actor who played Killer Croc, but like his makeup, because they used practical makeup, it just I don't know. It didn't present as well as it could have with Killer Croc. So with King Shark, they just went full CGI, and it just I don't know. It just looked so much better.
I think the CGI was top notch in this movie. Like even Starro, like destroying buildings and everything like that. Honestly, like nothing here made me like question its reality. Like I think it was done so well, even down to the little Sebastian the rat. Oh,
Sebastian was so cute. Okay, Sebastian was so cute.
You want your own Sebastian now, don't you?
I do. My family would kill me if I got a pet rat, though.
No, I don't mean like a real one. There must be like a Sebastian.
No, I would totally have a pet rat. I would.
Oh, could not do that. Like a Geeks Unleashed rat.
I'll put a little Geeks Unleashed saddle on him, like or a jacket on him, like Sebastian had. Either that, or I could get a pet snake. It could be a Geeks Unleashed snake.
Do you know, I cannot find. I've quickly Googled it. I can't find a Sebastian However, there is a Ratcatcher 2 with Sebastian Pop coming out.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna need that.
So the Ratcatcher 2, we're completely deviated from the movie right now, but the Ratcatcher 2 Pop does have the mask on that she wore at the end, like with the sort of gas mask thing, holding in her hand a tiny little rat.
I need it.
I think that'd be quite cute. So it's not out yet. It's not out yet. You can pre-order it.
Listen, guys, Christmas is coming up. You know, you could send some geeks some gifts. We like gifts. We could do that. I would love a Ratcatcher to go with my Pops collection.
If you want to hit us up, like DM us.
Yeah.
We have no PO box. I don't know what we'll do. Me, it's on the corner of
Fifth and La Brea.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Anyway, somewhere in Houston. We'll tell you a place.
Yeah. Show up, leave the pop, and then leave.
You could send it to your favorite coffee shop or something like that. Like, maybe we should get a PO box for Houston and London.
Hey, we could.
Yeah. Or just send us the money and we'll buy it. So we'll order it ourselves.
Put the money in our Ko-Fi and tell us what to use it for.
Yeah. If you want to buy us a Sebastian Pop,
yes.
You can drop us some cash on Ko-Fi. We'll buy the Sebastian Pop. No, it's not Sebastian. The Ratcatcher Pop.
The Ratcatcher 2 Pop. Yep.
And then Jasmine will have the pleasure of
I will do an unboxing and I will dedicate it completely to you, and it will go next to all of the rest of the pops that I have.
So back on to let's just jump to the end of the movie now.
Oh my god! So seriously.
So thoughts on the end of the movie? So that massive sequence at the end, that whole fight scene, with Starro, and we're down to our sort of last sort of 5 team force X, Suicide Squad members. What's that scene was fucking amazing. Like that whole movie, just that whole bit. What we've been building up to actually was just so good. Like I said it was kind of moving from one scene to another scene, and it struggled, I think, in terms of some flow a little bit throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. But the last sort of 20 minutes versus Starro were just hilarious. Yes. And although, like we said, it was kind of, we had that kind of fight scene between John Cena and Idris Elba and obviously Rick Flag, all those characters at the end, and then it kind of really cleverly goes straight into the Starro battle. Yeah. I love the fact that Harley had that staff throughout the whole movie, and
it's a javelin.
Yeah, but she finally finds a purpose for it.
Yes.
Like the whole movie, and actually to go back to that beginning, when she gets that javelin. And he dies as he's going, and then I thought she was going to be nice, kind of puts her hand over and suddenly slaps his face.
And then she slaps the shit out of him and she's like, do what with it?
And then everybody, like all the guards run around her and like they're like going to arrest her. And she's like, he just died. He's just going to tell me what to do with it. And that's actually, again, why I love Harley so much. But so that whole sequence at the end, though, like when everyone's fighting Starro, it's so funny and brilliant at the same time. But I love how they're taking it seriously, fighting Starro.
Yes.
So it's not. You could kind of think Starro might be a joke character, but they were using Starro so well. So
now there was like a Justice League or Batman Beyond episode way back in the early 2000s where Starro had actually taken over the Justice League, and so I didn't know that Starro was the villain for this film. I guess I just hadn't been paying attention. I knew that
I didn't watch
it was an alien. I knew that, but I didn't know it was Starro. So when I first saw, I was like, oh my god, they're doing like that episode from Justice League where he takes over the Justice League. So I thought it was cool that they pulled from like a villain that had those kinds of abilities to sort of do the brainwashing or the to sort of take it over people's bodies. It was outrageous and it was completely over the top and it was so far out in left field, but we had already been an hour and 40 minutes into the movie. And it was like, listen, at this point, I'm all in. I'm with you till the end of the line, as Captain America would say. So by the time we got to the big battle with Starro at the end, I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. Look, there's a giant freaking starfish trashing this city and all of his little starfish minions are attacking the civilians of this town. Sure, I buy it. And then rats swimming in the fluid behind the eye. Yeah, I buy that too. Sure.
Well, and I love the fact that they actually rebelled against Amanda Waller, and that was kind of like their hero moment.
Yeah.
So the Suicide Squad, they're kind of like, I wouldn't say they're anti-heroes. They are villains, but they do have some hero qualities to them, which is part of probably why they signed up as well. Yes, they get a bit off their term of their prison sentence, but ultimately these guys, other than the first team, which either got killed or,
but I think that's how they weed out the bad seeds, right? You pick these villains, and then some villains are always going to be villains. So you kind of get rid of them, and then the problem sort of solves itself. So I think naturally the squad just kind of falls, and the people that are left are the people that actually do have some good in them.
And what I love at the end is that they go against Amanda Waller, and even Amanda Waller's people go against Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
Because they can see the overall good here is that the Suicide Squad are going to save the day, kill Starro.
Yeah.
But what I love is how Bloodsport gets the hard drive with the evidence of the US government's involvement in Starro from the sort of the space race, and then uses it against Amanda Waller for their freedom. And but what I love is how she said, "I told you I'd make you into a leader."
Yes, I did that.
And how he has now become a leader. And he does turn to Harley Quinn saying, "Yeah, I know that Rick Flag wanted to release it to the public, but we've saved the city and the world, kind of thing. We can't do everything." They've used it to negotiate their freedom, really, which is completely different. Had they have released it to the public, Amanda Waller probably would have.
They'd still be pawns, yeah.
Even
or she'd explode their heads, yeah,
probably explode their heads. So they get to live another day. So that's what I said earlier was. The way it's kind of left is that a sequel potentially would happen with Bloodsport and Harley Quinn being out and loose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was wondering, do you think if they made a sequel, could we get Will Smith coming back and he gets sent off after Bloodsport? This is just fanboying here now. This may never happen.
If this film, and so far I think it is doing better, but if this film tracks better than the first film, I could see Will Smith coming back to the franchise. Yes. But I think I don't
think he wanted to come back because it didn't do too well. So I think his ego kind of got in the way of coming back.
Well, but I don't blame him for that.
No, I don't blame him. I don't blame him for that. But I think if he'd have come back and been in this, I think he probably would have been pleasantly surprised by its general reaction and how well it's been doing. So I think it's difficult to track how well it's doing financially because, it's
between HBO Max and theaters. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And COVID.
The current times we're living in, had it have been released, say 3 years ago, it probably would have been a massive success. So, or maybe in 3 years' time. So, who knows? But so we kind of have two sequences. We have one after the titles kind of come up at the start of the titles, where Weasel is magically alive. That made me.
I just want somebody to tell me the point of that character. What did you put him on the squad to do? What does he do?
I don't know.
What I want to know.
I want to know.
Hopefully he'll be in the next film. Because I need to know.
Maybe he eats people.
Maybe. Well, apparently Rick Flag said he killed 27 kids.
Oh, maybe he's children. Which is why. Well, he said they eat kids, so hopefully they were obviously hoping that he was going to eat the soldiers, but
maybe I don't know.
That was a weird character to put in
for sure.
Obviously, again, done for comedy factor.
Yes, of course, for no other reason.
Yeah, and at the end of the movie, we get a little teaser,
which tricked me for a second because I completely forgot about the Peacemaker series. So when they were like, "Oh yeah, we pulled him out of the rubble," and we're surprised that his heart was still beating, I was like, "Oh yes, Rick Flag is still alive!" And then it was John Cena, and I was like, "God damn it!"
I was really hoping it was Rick Flag too, and then it was John Cena again. Yeah. I did enjoy John Cena in this movie, but I was hoping.
Yeah, but I completely forgot about the spinoff.
He didn't. So it's obviously leading into the Peacemaker spinoff, and I wonder if we have a Suicide Squad 2, whether we would have Peacemaker back or not, like whether we'd have the series, then Peacemaker comes back into number 3, sorry. Who knows what will happen? So I just wanted to ask a question though, like if this was a Marvel movie, you'd be like, when we talked about Black Widow, so we were like, how does this fit in with the MCU?
Yeah.
With this movie, like I know they've just said, oh yeah, we're going to have a Peacemaker spin-off. But at this point, does anyone care if this fits in with the DCE?
No. I think they established the connection in the first Suicide Squad, which was fine, having Batman and Joker and that kind of thing.
Superman's death was addressed and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's fine. But Suicide Squad is sort of like DC's introduction into the outrageous, whereas all the other stuff had been really grounded up until then. Like Batman was grounded, the Justice League was grounded. I mean, of course, you've got the Kryptonians that attack in Man of Steel, but at the same time, they're still sort of humanoid aliens. So it was not quite as fantastical. And the Suicide Squad kind of blows that wide open. And now you've got room to introduce all of the plethora of random and very odd DC villains. Like, who knows? Like, we got Brainiac, so maybe we'll get a live action Gorilla Grodd. Maybe we'll get some, I don't know. It opens the door to more characters because they have introduced all of the weird ones so far. So I think I appreciate that that's what they're using Suicide Squad to do. So if it's all sort of related, I think that's great. Now, do I expect to see any of those weird, fantastical characters in this Robert Pattinson Batman film that's coming out next year? No.
Well, no, but no. That Robert Pattinson movie's set on a different Earth, so that wouldn't be connected to this. But I have heard potentially, like if there was another Aquaman movie, King Shark could potentially be in that because that's all within the shared DCEU. That Robert Pattinson Batman is a completely separate, like imagine it as an alternate Earth. So
well, I mean, Flashpoint is supposed to be playing with the multiverse, so hey, you never know.
Yeah. Oh, maybe Robert Pattinson's Batman will be the only Batman. Who knows what will happen?
Yeah.
Anyway, I do you know what, Flashpoint and the third Spider-Man movie are becoming the two annoying movies for me. Just get on with them. Stop teasing them. Just release them. Or give us a bloody trailer. Anyway, what would you rate this movie out of 5?
4.5.
Do you know what? I was going to go 4.5. I was like playing it with my mind. I was thinking if I was to rate Suicide Squad, the first one, it would be somewhere between a 1 and a 2.
Yeah.
And I thought this one is definitely got massive progression.
Yes.
And I enjoyed this one a hell of a lot more. I laughed. I didn't cry, but
no, there were no tears.
I probably cried during the first one. But no, I definitely enjoyed this a lot more. This is a massive jump up from the previous one.
Well, see, last week when we were on the He-Man episode, that's what we were talking about with the He-Man film from 1987. It's like, it doesn't matter what fantastical realm you're in. If you establish the ground rules at the beginning of the film, then I can buy into whatever it is you're selling. If we're on Eternia, I'm buying into Eternia. Now we're leaving Eternia, we're going to Earth. Okay, I've already bought into the magic and the phasers. I bought into everything. And with this second Suicide Squad film, that's exactly what it does. It sets the precedent at the very beginning of the film. And it's like laid out the ground rules. And so by the time we get to the end of the film and a giant freaking starfish is rampaging through a city, like I'm all in. I'm not questioning it. I am not thinking to myself, like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, oh my God, how are they gonna kill this thing? Like if nothing they're doing is working, like, I'm invested. So this film did a great job of making you be invested in the film itself.
I think it was a good choice of characters, actors, set. Plot again didn't need to be complicated because actually it was just a fun action movie, really. And for me, John Cena, Idris Elba, and Margot Robbie carried this movie. Like they did so well in this movie. I know I said Ratcatcher was one of my favorites earlier, but I think she doesn't. Unfortunately, she's a strong supporting character.
Yeah, but she doesn't really carry much humor either. She's sort of like we said before. She's the heart. So she's like the conscious of the film. Yeah.
That's what I liked about her, was the heart of the movie.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I would give this a strong 4.5. And I really hope, 4.5 yeah.
Wow, we agree. We haven't agreed in a long time.
But I really hope there's a third one. Like, I really hope there is. Too. I really want to see Bloodsport, and I would love it if they bring Will Smith back. Like, I'm a 90s kid. Like, Will Smith, he was in everything. Independence Day, Fresh Prince. He's not doing as well lately. I'm sure he's not struggling. I'm sure he's
this is their chance to bring in some of the like bigger villains. Like, they don't have to be part of the Suicide Squad, obviously, but like, how fun would it be to see the Suicide Squad fighting against like Penguin or the Riddler? If we can start bringing some of those guys back, like that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think because it's Suicide Squad is the last resort. Like, what could you do that would be crazy enough? I mean, Starro was a pretty crazy villain. Like, Starro was a pretty crazy villain to bring in. So, like, who could be? Would create Penguin. I don't think would be. Penguin could be in it, but I couldn't see him being.
But he wouldn't be big enough. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, boss level. Like, because you kind of feel like Suicide Squad would go up against boss level villains, like, because they're like, well, Batman's busy, or Batman can't do that one. I mean, could Batman have taken down Starro on his own? No, probably not.
No, he would need Justice League help on that one.
Yeah, he would need Justice League. So yeah, if the Justice League are busy, send in the Suicide Squad. So who would be? And you kind of feel like like from the tone of the Suicide Squad, you need someone crazy, like a crazy villain. I don't know. I don't know who to think.
At this point, the only person that they could fight in this already established universe would be Joker. Crazy old Jared Leto's Joker.
Or maybe like Joker with a team up of like Penguin.
Oh my God. Or if they brought in the Jokers from Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond is really an untapped area that DC needs to get into and start bringing that stuff into the live action universe.
Do you know what? You could have it like a combination of like villains that they could go up against, like what?
Clayface?
Yeah. No, Clayface would be a good choice, but like maybe like Captain Cold, like trying to think, Brainiac.
And see, if they ended up doing something like Gotham City Sirens, that's a perfect opportunity for them to also start introducing some like Poison Ivy.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Man.
I can't think of like anything crazy. Like, you just need,
unless you brought in like Bizarro or Apocalypse.
Sinestro might be quite cool.
Oh yeah, the Lantern Corps. Sinestro. I like that.
He would be quite cool, I think.
Yeah, he's a galactic threat.
He is, but yeah, I don't know. Like, just trying to think what would be like on par with Starro. But then the trouble is, you don't want to like constantly trying to like outdo yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll leave our review there. But yeah, basically we're keen to see more. So I'm actually, do you know what? Actually, just one last thing before we move on. I didn't care about the Peacekeeper spinoff at all this movie. Me neither. Before this movie. But now I'd watch it.
Well, now that it takes place after the movie, with the movie ending the way that it did, I want to know.
And that's why, like, because he's a bit of a sod in terms of killing off, Rick Flag. Do I want to like support this character? So would this TV series maybe be like a redemption arc? Maybe
no,
or maybe not,
because he wants peace at any cost.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they find. I'm hoping if they'll find Rick Flag somewhere. So
hopefully, we'll see. Fingers crossed.
It's
the movies. You never know.
Yeah. So anyway, in our next episode, we'll be reviewing Crossover Volume 1 from Image Comics. That's the first 6 issues, by the way.
And don't forget, we did start a second podcast series where we tackle some of the most essential graphic novels of all time. Our 8th Late to the Party book club was Batman the Killing Joke by Alan Moore, with art by Brian Bolland. That episode dropped at the end of July. And this month we are back to nonfiction, and we're taking a deep dive into Persepolis by Marjan Strapi.
You can follow us on social media. We're Geeks Unleashed everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
And you can get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Google, Podbean, Apple, Spotify. We are everywhere. So please give us a 5-star review and tell your geeky friends.
Good journey.
Oh God, good. We're back to good journey.
Why not? Let's try and milk that thing. All right, bye.